Hello, I'm Roger Killen. Welcome to Entrepreneurs International Network, where entrepreneurs learn, network, and grow. Today, Sonya Sokolova is training us on how to become a content marketing rock star when we have no content. Now I have a little mini interview of Sonya. So Sonya, I've got three questions for you. The first being, what is your greatest accomplishment?
Thank you, Roger. And on the first step, thank you very much for inviting me again. Probably some of the people who's attending this webinar today know that I made another workshop a year ago, and I've got so many questions after that and so many inspiring content. So I'm happy to be here again. Thank you. And answering your question, my greatest accomplishment is in 1996. I became a founder of the most popular and the very first music portal in Eastern Europe, and it's still running. And when I realized that the best day of this business are behind, I just turned it into a free community of music lovers and musicians. And it still keeps running, and I'm so happy to be a founder and a member of this community. You know, it's very inspiring.
That is quite an accomplishment. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, question number two. Tell us a fun fact about yourself. A fun fact about yourself.
Okay, I grew up in Moscow, right in the middle between the building that houses the parliament and the zoo on the same street. And as a child, my parents would always ask me who I want to be. And to get rid of them, I always answered, I used to say, I want to work at the zoo, or I want to be a deputy, and that depended on my mood. In general, now I work as something between those two professions, because I'm a content manager and a marketing manager and a product manager. And to run all this, you know, I often feel something like that. And my worst secret and the funniest one is that deep down in my heart, I'm pretty lazy. So I try to automate everything in order to set it up once. And then it somehow worked on its own. But it never works with the zoo, you know? And that reminds me of how you really manage this crazy zoo of software developers and content producers. Yeah, I think it's pretty funny.
Well, thank you. I didn't know anything about that of you, and I've known you now for 3-4 years.
Yep.
All right. Third skill testing question. What impact would you like your life to have? What impact would you like your life to have?
You know, I'd like to inspire people to solve not only their own business problems, but also the problems of their community and to contribute. Because most of the problem you are currently solving are not unique, and someone else is racking their brains over the same problem right now. Just giving you an example, when I spoke to this community last year, I was just solving the problem of bringing my dog that I adopted to Vancouver. And in the process of solving this problem, I realized that there are quite a lot of people like me. So we launched the community for the adoption of people, of their pets abroad. And we bring animals from shelters. We help with all the paperwork. We direct and manage all the adoption process. And it's a kind of gambling activity. I love it.
Okay. Well, just before you and I fired up this meetup at 5 o'clock, I had a nice chat with Gina. And Gina, in a very short number of sentences, shared with me her discovery about weight loss. And it was really remarkably simple. Gina has lost 60 pounds almost effortlessly by not eating this and this and eating this and this. That's just like you, sharing what you have learned so that others don't have to go to the effort of learning it for themselves. Congratulations.
Yeah, double congrats to Gina.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Now, a few words of wisdom from me to the participants. On behalf of Sonya, I would ask you to please turn on your video because it's infinitely more interesting from a speaker's point of view to be speaking to real live people than it is to be speaking to black rectangles. So if you're not shy and you've got some clothes on, please turn on your video. Second point, stay muted and type your questions into the chat. I will pose them every 10 minutes. I'll put them in a batch and pose them to Sonya during her talk. Rest assured, you'll get your question answered by hook or by crook by the end of Sonya's workshop. Now, third point, you're going to be sent a link to the recording of Sonya's workshop in a few hours. I would say if the workshop is over at 7 o'clock, then add 2, maybe 3 hours tops, assuming I have no technical challenges. But nevertheless, even though you're going to get a recording, I still encourage you to take notes, because the very act of taking notes is going to help you with what you absorb by as much as 30%. Sonya, are you ready to knock our socks off?
Absolutely. Thank you, Roger.
Take it away. The stage is yours.
Okay, I'm going to share some slides with you. And first of all, for those of you who haven't seen the first webinar, it's there on YouTube. So you can actually dig into this video presentation of mine and enjoy. And more ambition, more. Okay. And here we go. Hello, I'm Sonya, and as I mentioned, I'm a marketer and a product manager with a media publisher background. Last year, I did a workshop for this network on content marketing automation. And I suggested that my listeners try to automate the content that they already have and that they already publish on social networks. Do you know what was the first most frequent question I was asked after that? Where to get that content? I was really surprised because it seemed to me that someone should have written all those trillions of pages that you can find on Google and that Google gives you on any request. But indeed, in content marketing, not any content is important, but the one that helps you to promote your brand. Therefore, I have prepared this new workshop for you, and it's all about content aggregation and use. And let's start defining what is content marketing and why content is so important. So content marketing helps you to attract more customers at a lower cost by drawing attention to your company and services, by telling them stories, sharing news, and sharing your expertise. And content marketing can benefit a company of any size, literally a startup, a small and a medium-sized business, a large corporation, a well-known brand. As, for example, a startup can use content marketing to attract customers and build trust and credibility of some new product and explain how complex products or services work. And a well-known brand uses content marketing to get closer to its customers, to better respond to requests from different customer segments, to increase the frequency and volume of purchases, and also reduce customer churn, for example. And the important thing to remember is that content serves as a bait, as an attraction. So it draws people to your business, to your pages, which gives you the opportunity to convert them later, but quite rarely at this stage, customers would purchase anything. So that's the thing that you need to understand. And during the survey conducted among global marketers in like 2 years ago, in 2019, 90% of respondents said that they were already using content marketing as a part of their promotional efforts. And what is more, 77% of them also said that they had some content marketing strategy and that it was a document. So it was some kind of paperwork done before. And the reason for that is simple. Using marketing to attract customers turned out to be really cheaper, 38% cheaper than any other types of marketing. And according to the survey, the number of leads increased almost 3 times within their brands that use it. And then COVID happened. And in 2020, according to the State of Content Marketing by SEMrush, it's a survey, and I'd love to share the link to this survey with you. After that, in a year, there were almost 94% of marketers across 39 countries worldwide that are investing in content marketing. In fact, 68% planned on increasing their budgets, not decreasing the budget on marketing, but increasing. And despite challenges that come with the COVID situation, with the social media algorithm changes and all the depression that makes us feeling a bit overwhelmed with content, it's still running and the industry is growing. So let's see, like, if you ask me, I would strongly suggest you using content marketing as a driver, as an attraction to a business. And you see that because more than 60% of marketers are changing their targeting and messaging strategy, and they adjust their editorial calendar, their marketing activities, and adjust it to our social networks and all the media consumption, I definitely suggest you going this way. And yeah, here are the main goals that are pretty obvious for the content marketing, inform, entertain, explain. But it's not just some symbolic motto, you know, it's an attitude that drives revenue. Each company or person needs a different branding strategy and different goals for their business. And it takes time to define our goals and to define our way of communication with our customers in social networks, within blog posts, or within media. Sorry. For example, to inform our customer, we can create a robust social media mix that helps us to build trust in us as a reliable supplier. And lots of businesses aren't understood well and have trouble finding a large customer base to their product. So if you see that your product or service brings value to customers, but it's difficult or impossible to tell about in a short one-pager in a short presentation, you definitely need content marketing to explain, to educate. And the percentage of educational content only grows within years. The percentage of entertaining content is decreasing. It's decreasing for their, let's say, serious brands, but having less memes and more smart content doesn't sound like a bad idea, right? And if you see content marketing affects all the basic KPIs, brand awareness, lead generation, web traffic, discoverability in social networks, SEO, customer engagement, and for sure, with great content, it's much easier to keep your current audience around and coming back for more. Just focus on creating quality content, and they will never go to other sources or some information sources beside you. So for many companies, therefore, many companies use content marketing primarily to lead generation, for lead generation and for like to acquire leads through content downloads, through posts. But keeping track not only on generation of the leads themselves, but on does it help us to increase comments, interactions? How does it influence their conversion rates? And you can even measure the growth if you only track subscribers or downloads or page views. So anything that you can measure the percent over time, you will find that it works as well. And yeah, sorry, I'm a bit nervous today. And here are 3 questions that you need to ask yourself before you start. And those questions are quite simple as well. Like, who is our target audience? What are we sharing? What kind of content are we going to share? And where and how? What are the channels? What are the main distribution channels for the content that we aggregate and that we publish? Pretty obvious, right? And you are probably well aware of this common content marketing model. It's most commonly used with social media marketing, but also it works for social optimization. Also, it works for media and for paid advertising as well. Only in the standard model, there are usually 5 stages. And this is where some misunderstanding lies among those who start doing content marketing. The problem is that the majority of brands just give up, leaving their social profiles unattended. And it's not because their marketing didn't work well. The reason may be a sudden flurry of calls, sudden spike, which doesn't give you the opportunity to continue posting and communicating, but forces you to concentrate on your business to expand. Therefore, I added the 6th point specifically to show that if you take this road, it will require some consistency. It will require some daily job, some daily efforts from you. This is a daily routine. During my first workshop, I talked a lot about how to reduce the efforts with automation, and I'll talk about that today as well. The standard 80-20 rule isn't wrong, and it works for the majority of brands, but let's not turn it into the guideline. I will show you today how content marketing drives sales with 0 call to action. The more value-driven content you share, the more customers are involved by the end. By the way, here's the document that I have in the B2B content marketing report of 2021. The top 5 most common content marketing goals of 2020 were creating brand awareness, building credibility and trust, educating audiences, and generating leads. But the parameter which grew over the year was building loyalty and growing the existing customer base and reducing retention. And for sure,
Sonya, yeah? I'm not sure you're on the right slide.
Yeah, sorry. It's okay. Just let's skip it. Yeah, it's okay. And here are 3 steps to succeed. What you need to do to actually to start this content marketing strategy and to implement it for your business. First, you need to define which content to share. Then you connect your social profiles and your blogs and all the channels that you need to distribute your content on. And then you establish the rules, like what kind of call to action you need to add, maybe how to enrich the content. And I'll talk about that a bit today. Planning. It all starts with planning, and I hate planning more than anything else, but I hate it even more when my plans do not come true. In content marketing, it happens quite often. So this is where some automation comes in handy. Like we defined if there is a content source somewhere that is updated regularly, and we use those updates to create our regular automated posts. So you can check this on my previous webinar on Vancouver Business Network to learn how it works, but I'll show some cool examples today as well. And yeah, let's define the content sources. And if you tell me that you literally have zero content, I'll tell you that actually you're wrong. If you're running a business, you probably have some customers that could share their testimonials and feedback. They could ask you questions. They could send you emails. You probably share some presentations. You probably have made some pitch for the investors, and you definitely have at least one page site. All this can be turned into your future marketing materials, into your future posts. And what you need to do is you need to collect all the sources, define what type of content you aggregate. Like we take pictures from this gallery, we take testimonials from this spreadsheet, we create some manual spreadsheet with the links. Probably we could use some media as a third-party source of our content, and it works well. And here we go. Like we can actually see how it works on different business cases, and I'm going to share some best practices with you.
Sonya, before you do, would you take a message?
Yes, of course.
So Chris wants to know, do you post the same content across all profiles or change it up?
Not necessarily, because you know that different social networks, for example, require different types of content. For example, Instagram and TikTok prefer video content and photo content, and this should be adjusted, taken from some really cool looking galleries. This cannot be a bad looking snapshots. So I suggest you to prepare this content specifically for those two networks. There are some local networks that work only on local languages. So if you are a multi-language business, as mine, for example, you would love to run your daily updates not only on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, but also, for example, on Telegram or WhatsApp or WeChat. There are social networks that support outbound links, and there are social networks that don't, like Instagram. So all this should be planned, and you need to understand how exactly you're going to drive leads. Hope I answered.
Yep, no further questions.
Okay. Yeah, so preparing the content. To create the most engaging content, you need to drive engagement and add some actions, some motion. For example, call to actions like read more on this topic, or subscribe and save, or nominate today, or something else. You definitely need to add some visual elements, not necessarily images, but some pictures. You know that text-only updates look quite dull in our visual world, and there's a huge percentage of marketers who use videos a lot, especially in our Zoom COVID era. So I suggest you to pick some feeds based on YouTube or video channels and add them to your daily stream. There are lots of cool techniques to create a content mix based on some pieces of content. And yeah, I'm going to share this as well. And here's a great example of storytelling, which has been created manually. It's a client of mine. It's a family tree clinical counseling company, and they and thank them for agreeing to serve as an example for this workshop. So it's a clinical counseling company specializing in couples and family therapy here in Vancouver. And a month ago, the founder of this company approached me with a request to help her to establish the management and to establish her brand awareness on social media. And she created a Facebook profile, business profile, and wanted to promote it. So she and I have built a strategy, a content strategy built on what she likes best, actually to share her professional expertise and to educate. So the first question I asked her was, are you going to share some stories about your business? She said, no. Okay, what's the most frequent question that your customers come to you with? And she said, well, there are several topics that are the most popular among their couples and their families. And here's the list of the topics. So this person also enjoys reading and shares some book quotes. Therefore, we build a sales funnel at one end of which there are small pieces of useful content on the topic that really interests people. And they serve as an invitation to free webinars. And during those webinars, she talks about her practice and her insights. And she shares some various useful tips. And then she sends the listener working materials and get back to them. And guess what? As a result, she gets a steady stream of customers. And with little or no advertising, she got a huge spike in her daily audience. And you can see the insights here on the slide. Those are real, and I just made them today. So content to educate appeals to her audience rationality and their willingness to get help. And that's basically, it's a matter of trust. Like when you educate and you give some valuable content, this value-driven content attracts people. And here's another example. It all starts with content, and the main reason is that when you don't have time for the content aggregation and content distribution, and you don't have any copywriter in-house, you have to invent some new approach, some new strategy to update your networks, to update your profiles with some third-party content or some content that you have stored and forgot about that completely before. Here's the example of such company. It's a charity foundation, Pottery Life, based in Boston. And its mission is to provide resources for the children that suffer cancer, and to help to beat the cancer, and to run educational campaigns as well. And this is a kind of cool example of how we reuse the side content, which is something about our team, something about our campaigns, something about our charity marathons. And it turns out that those updates work greatly as an additional channel of generating revenues. When they run a marathon, they share the updates on social networks. And here how it looks. So basically, all the posts that you see here on this slide are generated automatically using the content from the site. So there's no manual job here. And the problem with this automated content is that it's not usually updated regularly, but having some tiny pieces of content helps you to generate multiple content streams in multiple social networks, like having 5 pictures and 4 post examples and 4 headlines and call to actions helps you to create approximately 100 posts. So you don't need to, to write some additional content, to invent something to share to the social network. And that's a kind of cool new trend.
Sonya, time for a couple of questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Sharita would like to know, are there suggestions on what keywords to post depending on the social platforms and depending on the industry?
Okay, you're using this SEO approach, I understand. But the keywords, I would rather suggest using topic, not a keyword, because for different businesses, different topics are playing better, even during the same time period on different social networks. I can give you an example, like for a brand that I'm honored to deal with. It's another charity foundation. They run some artistic marathons to drive their fundraising campaigns. And they usually use this as an art or charity event or gala event or some celebrities. So it's all linked to this celebrity topic and artistic topic. But at the same time, in the different social network, in LinkedIn, they run it as a solid foundation and the solid fundraising campaigns. And they talk about cryptocurrencies, taxes, and so on and so on. So there's no limits and there's no restrictions here. You can just try different approach in different social networks for different audience.
Thank you. Hemant wants to know, what are the tools used for automation? Maybe this is something you're coming to.
Yeah, absolutely. You see the small logotype and its targeting platform that I use. I also use Buffer from time to time, and I use Q as a content aggregation platform for bloggers. But targeting is the one I love and the one I promote. And I've been the advocate of targeting since its appearance on the market, like almost 6 years from now. And I absolutely love this platform. And I'll talk about this later by the end of this webinar. But it's quite exciting, believe me, and I'll show you some cool techniques to aggregate the content.
So, Sonya, just for clarity, is that spelled Targeting?
Yeah, targetings. Targetings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. No further questions?
Thanks.
Oh,
yep.
Pavna said, please mention those tools in the chat. I think she wants you to type them into the chat.
Okay, will do. Later, okay? So here's another cool example. It's a media mix based on different types of content. And on the left side, you would see Fitbit sharing some video advertising in Instagram. And it's actually a typical video which they stream or promote in Instagram as an instant story. And on the right side, you would see LinkedIn page of Les Salles Academy. It's an educational institution in Europe. And they are sharing some small interviews with the teachers from the school, from the academy. And the teachers are sharing their experiences and challenging, and they talk about education and education online. Nowadays, it's quite exciting. So those are two different ways to aggregate the content from third parties, because like Fitbit produces its video advertising itself, and Leslie asks teachers to prepare some pieces of content for them. But by the end, they have videos, and the videos drive some audience to their pages. Here's another case study last year after my first workshop, and it's quite inspiring case. After this first workshop, the owner of Jazz Heads label, Randy Klein, wrote to me, and he asked me, would I suggest him running this automation for his brand? And I really adore what Jazz Heads are doing. They currently have more than 1,000 titles jazz catalog, which means they have an unlimited stream of content, unlimited source of content. So here you can see the automated updates taken from today on their Facebook page, which is currently 75,000 followers. And it's running with 0 marketer, 0 social media manager. Isn't it exciting? All those updates are based on YouTube videos, catalog updates, and some pieces of content that Randy produced specifically for the social networks. Some of his insights and some pieces of concerts. So it all is combined in a very smart and inspiring media mix for me. And here's another cool example. Boundless. Boundless Immigration is the company based in the United States. You probably know it. And investing.com is another one located in States. So here we have some very dull and not inspiring at all official documentation that can be turned into social posts as well. So you take some simplest questions and answer approach, and you just implement it using the docs as a content, and you would just use some catching headline and catching call to action to drive the audience to this content. You would also like to use some image from the image gallery just to make it funnier, looking cooler. So that's how it works. And here's a cool case study. There's a small winery in States. And well, how much content does winery have? Probably they have some catalog. Probably they have some Q&A sessions. Maybe they have some presentation of the wine, but no more than that. What you see here is endless content stream and endless content source that was taken from those presentations and Q&As. And here are some examples. So here's Q&A. What they did is they just prepared some basic spreadsheet describing what's happening in the winery. And here we are. It's thematic posts based on this catalog updates and some Q&A sections. You can also deliver content your customers are interested in, and please advertisers as well, because it's a common situation that it's like hidden advertising that many magazines and newspapers have, and they have paid placements when they advertise local businesses. And the problem with those local businesses is that they once advertise some content, some businesses on their website, and the content ends here. There's no updates. With this solution, newspapers and magazines can distribute such content, such update, based on something cool. This really pleases readers and advertisers. And at the same time, this entertainment content can be created on the basis of anything, including the catalog, and including some smaller pieces of content like interviews or some short descriptions or some testimonials from the customers. And that's also a new trend that automation brings to the market. Yeah, here's the cool testimonial that the winery gave us. Another inspiring example, thematic posts say about weekend events when you really don't have any business updates on a Labor Day, for example. You still have some content to share, and this can be a digest. This can be some third-party sources like news or some cool videos from YouTube. So you could not only educate or provoke your audience with some questions and answers or some interactions, not only selling them something, but you could just entertain them this way. So you can also use media. Let's imagine you're a small business and there's a local newspaper. In Vancouver, we have plenty. What you need to do is to pick a feed. So you, for example, you take RSS feed from this local media. You pick some keywords related to your business or to your business niche. And then you just link it to your profiles. You aggregate the content, you preview it, you pick the right articles to publish, and you approve this. And here we go. You've got tons of updates based on this media. Media would get bigger readership and great customers. Everyone is happy. It's a win-win. Like delivering this content from the beloved media brands, for example, from the regional media house, build strong and meaningful relations with the customer and use their interest in media sources and lead to increasing engagement opportunities. And also it helps to engage with the shares to drive more traffic. And after all, you increase retention as well.
Sonya, time for a couple of questions?
Sure.
Edward Fox wants to know if you have a promo code. I think he might mean an affiliate code for.
Yeah, just contact me after that. Yes, and I'll gladly share and I'll gladly help you with the setup. Yeah, I do have promo codes for you.
You can contact Sonya.
Yeah, and I'll leave the promo code here in chat after our meeting, so you would get the opportunity to use the free extended trial. Yeah.
Okay. Second question is about emojis. Do you like using emojis in posts?
Not much, honestly, but I understand that I'm a kind of old generation marketer. So I would just put valuable content to the front and add images as a break before the call to action or before the link. But I know that for the next generation of social media users, this works quite well. And I know that some of the teenagers even communicate using images only. So this fully depends on audience and the type of social networks you are trying to communicate.
No further questions. Back to you.
Okay. So yeah, as I mentioned, using the third-party content sometimes can sound scary. Like we cannot fully control what we are publishing, and this needs to be somehow pre-approved. So here we are. Every platform allows you to, at least targetings that I use, allows you to pre-approve the post, to change the post before you publish, to preview the post so that you be sure that you really publish what you want. Automatic aggregation of the third-party content can really be sensitive for those brands that are under attack of the critics, and that provoke some negative reactions on their behavior or some new products or some services. So that you better be careful republishing this in social media, or at least explain to your audience how exactly you, what is your approach, what is your reaction on that. So that's not necessarily be used in social networks. Yeah, and media actually help your brand sound solid. It helps you to use third-party content to drive traffic and to sound as a trusted source. Believe me or not, it also helps the discoverability of your brand in social networks. Next time when the customers would search for some brand, they would find you better, they would find you easier if you share third-party content. And the reason is quite simple. The third-party content, when you use any type of mention or you share the content from the trusted brand, you can use the mention in social network, and this will let the fans of this trusted brand know that you're a fan, that you somehow mentioned that, that you want to talk about that. So this will attract users as well. So if you want to not only increase the frequency of posts, but also increase the quality of your posts and increase the level of trust, don't be scared to share the third-party content and their media content. And utilizing this content is actually not only a great traffic driver tool, but also it's a great time saver, because you do not need to create this content yourself. You do not need to hire any copywriter, and it still works. It's still like it still works for your brand, because some of the problems that you're solving, as I mentioned, someone is solving around the corner. And yeah, here's another case study. And here are 3 banking institutions and financial institutions from different countries. Here's what we got here. It's converting media stories, and in the middle you would see that this one is using their partner brand to drive their audience retention and to discuss something that is sensitive for the audience, to discuss some topic that is relevant to them. So this is the different approach that uses 3 actually pretty common financial institutions. They would share the information about their services. They would convert some third-party content and some evergreen content by creating dynamic libraries and RSS feeds, and they would share some media content with their audience.
Question is from Hemant. Aren't there any copyright issues, he asks?
No, because what you're doing is you are sharing the link to the existing, you're not copying the content, the 100% of the content. What your audience gets is the short message text with a preview and the link to the publication, which drives traffic to the publication, but still it grows your audience as well.
That's all the questions. Back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so here's the simplest result of this approach. And as I mentioned, it works like with any automation. If only you try to implement this content strategy, you will immediately start seeing this traffic spike on your pages. I promise. If it doesn't work, this just means that something needs to be, adjusted. You need some kind of setup. But I still encourage you to at least try to enjoy your daily updates based on this content. And the first step, as I mentioned, would be try to dig into your archives, try to review the content that you already have on your social pages, sites, testimonials. I know the content, the client who is using the testimonials left on Google Maps, because he's a local business, he's a small local business. And what he does is he's creating the spreadsheets with those testimonials, and he mentions the customers because it's a very tiny niche business. And mentioning the customer is really helpful for them. So they would just start the interaction this way, and they drive audience retention this way. Oh, I see lots of people entering. Yeah, so if you need some setup, as I mentioned, that I use targeting automation platform, and there are several more. I could talk more if you're interested later, but at this stage, thank you. I would love to assist you if you in switching to this fully hands-free new content marketing strategy, and this really saves you and your team tons of time and effort on routine tasks. And what I suggest you to do is to use their very simple approach. First, try to pitch your brand to yourself. See what kind of sensitive questions you would ask yourself as a customer. Write them down, create a very simple schedule, and try to understand how to publish at least one answer to one question per day. You would see that you got at least 20 or 30 post updates in a week. Yeah, so that's it. And this helps you to streamline the daily workflow, using this publication scenarios. So let me know if you want me to assist you with that. I'll be happy to share my expertise and to help you with the setup. Thank you.
Sonya, Pavna wants to know what the time commitment is for content creation. Does this need a full-time person dedicated to this?
No, it's not. As I mentioned, you already have content, but you just deny this. You do not need to reinvent content. You just need to review what you're having.
Oh.
Sometimes content creation is just collecting some testimonials from emails, or collecting some frequently asked questions, or collecting some catalog updates. And there are plenty of social profiles run within those catalog updates, and nobody noticed that there's no manual created content there.
Great. Sonya, you were going to, if we had time, which we do, you're going to talk a little bit about automation?
So I was going to, I'll probably stop sharing at this point. Are there any more questions that I could answer?
You mean about automation?
Yeah, about the main topic, the content strategy, because automation is another huge topic.
No, there's no further questions. Please segue into making a few comments about automation.
Okay, so talking about automation, as I mentioned, I use targeting, and I'm going to write this down. And here is your promo code.
This is the promo code for targetings.com.
Yep.
So this is your affiliate code?
Yes.
Okay.
And this gives you a 3-week free trial. It's an extended trial for their whole targeting platform. And please contact me in order to get the setup consultation. I will gladly assist you. And talking about the automation itself. So as I mentioned, you need to, oh, sorry. I guess it was, sorry, I was publishing this for those in the meeting room. Here's the link. And here is the promo code. Yep, here it is. Yep. Yeah, enjoy. Okay, getting back to automation. There are several platforms which allow you to automate their content streams and content feeds. Well, except targetings. It's Buffer plus Q. Buffer is a well-known scheduling platform. What they allow you to do is to schedule the social posts. Q is the content aggregator from blogs. Most of them are some paid contents and some, engaging content. And those are kind of useful for those brands which are smaller businesses, and they run some local businesses. You would find tons of inspiring content there. I'm going to share their URL. Here it is, and Buffer. Buffer is similar to Hootsuite, but Hootsuite works more as a planner, so they wouldn't allow you to, create the solid content strategy. Targeting would. But there's one more very solid solution. It's Social Sprout. And in Social Sprout, there are several media brands that use it. It's a kind of pricey solution, not affordable to smaller businesses. But if you are running some really huge media business with a ton of updates that needs to be republished on social networks, here you are. Here's your solution for that. Also, there's a cool automation that you can use while creating some blog posts. Do you know that when you publish some blog on Medium, you can automatically share some of the posts in social networks? So you just link the blog profile on Medium, and all the posts would be just shared within your social audience on your social profiles. And they share the content on Facebook and Twitter, as far as I know. Yeah, it's blue.com. I guess, yeah. I guess I shared. Yeah, I did. so you can find this in the chat field, but I'm going to share this as well. So Medium, Medium. Sorry, a typo. And yeah. And if you're searching for a primary content source, use Google Trends, because this is the very best source of daily updates from multiple content sources. And the only thing you need to know is which filter do you want to implement to pick the news feeds. Targeting allows this as well. So if you just use the RSS feed of any of their publications and pick their topics and keywords, here you would get those daily updates. Yeah, so that's about automation. Social media. Yeah. Speaking of social media, it's always helpful when you are using some content to collaborate with some small businesses, because what they get is some templates that allow you to to create the post as a constructor. But those are kind of typical. They've got several templates and several examples and the library of templates, which looks cool, but then you realize that hundreds of businesses use the same template. And it doesn't look cool anymore. Like when you are a beauty salon and you try to compete with several beauty salons on the market, then you find that the same type of content with the same template is used by hundreds of beauty salons. It's not cool.
Sonya, there's a question about Google Trends. How do you use Google Trends?
I would just subscribe on some topic, pick several publications that I'm interested in or my audience would be interested in. I pick the daily updates and I just simply filter them. So I would just get the list of existing RSS feeds, and I would create the library based on those publications and just share, repost. That's it.
All right, thank you. Hemant says, great to have Sonya back with a focus on automation. I need to leave. Okay, so Sonya, let's wrap her up. On behalf of my 80,000 members, I thank you.
Thank you very much, guys, for attending this webinar today.
80,000 people saying thank you.
Thank you, guys.
I kind of wondered where you were going with your talk. Got no content, and yet we're going to become a content marketer. And I know you're not a magician, so you certainly
well, actually, I am.
You certainly helped me understand. So thank you hugely. Very, very much appreciate all your content, all your wisdom, all good stuff. Thank you. And
thanks, guys.
People in the audience people in the chat are thanking you hugely. So you've done a great job. Very well done.
Bye.